Hey guys, Josh here. You probably already know, but Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life is getting a remake for the Nintendo Switch in 2023. I made a video giving my first thoughts on this remake, so check that out if you haven't already. But today I would like to discuss all of the things I absolutely want in this new version of the game. Some are things I want to be added, others are things that I don't want to change from the original. And if we get all of these things, it will be the perfect dream remake in my eyes. And before we even start, let me know in the comments what are the things you would like to see in Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life, and let's see if we have some ideas in common. And the first thing I would absolutely love to see in this remake is the ability to adopt wild animals, such as the turtle and the lizard. If you've played this game back in the day, you know there were so many rumors, and for the longest time I believed them and I tried to get those cute animals to live on my farm, but unfortunately there was no way to do that, and I have no idea why people created those rumors in the first place and wasted everybody's time. It's such a shame, but even if the remake doesn't let you properly adopt these wild animals, I want to be able to at least interact with them a little bit more, maybe by giving them food or petting them. Who knows, maybe if they start liking you, they could visit you from time to time on your farm, bring you some gifts, or something along those lines. And what if you could help heal the lizard's broken leg? I think this could lead to very wholesome cutscenes. In Harvest Moon Magical Melody, the game that came out right after A Wonderful Life, there were tons of wild animals you can interact with, and doing so would improve your relationship with Terry, one of the villagers, and he would move out if you neglected him and the animals. And on the other hand, he would really like you if you took care of them. Befriending the dolphin in that game would even allow you to access a new area, so wild animals were very important. I feel like they might have originally wanted to do something like that in A Wonderful Life, but maybe they ran out of time and the wild animals ended up being a little bit useless. Also, in the Friends of Mineral Town remake, they added multiple pets like penguins and capybaras, so I don't think it's unrealistic at this point to hope for a bit more interactions with the turtle and lizard in the remake of A Wonderful Life. As I just mentioned, in Magical Melody, some villagers can move out or move in depending on your relationship with them and your actions. This made the town feel very alive and constantly evolving as you progress through the game. I think this is also something they were going for in A Wonderful Life, and they achieved it to some degree. Most villagers would get older, maybe even pass away, and others would move in. However, those changes were still pretty limited, and I would love to see more of that in the remake. I want to see some new characters moving in, maybe completely new marriage candidates or anyone else. I want bigger changes from chapter to chapter. Also, there were not that many shops in A Wonderful Life. Most things had to be ordered from Takakura through a book on your farm. Other than that, there was Vesta's farm to buy seeds and van that would come a few days a month. But that was about it, so I would love to see something new opening after a few years, like maybe a clothing shop, maybe a carpenter or a furniture shop, or any other place to spend your money at. Other than shop owners moving in, I would love to see maybe more characters getting married with each other, moving out, and just have some more important changes in their life. I think this was already partly what made A Wonderful Life so special, but I really want them to double down on this aspect of the game with new surprises for every chapter. I mentioned how I would love for a carpenter or furniture shop owner to move in, and that's because I really want to be able to customize my house. For those who don't know, in the original game, your house would get bigger automatically after every chapter, and you would get, for example, a kitchen or a new bedroom for your child. This is because the game was divided into chapters, so you didn't really decide when to marry or when to have a child. So it is normal that those house expansions were automatic, and I don't expect being able to order house upgrades or even moving furniture around. I don't think would be possible since many of the cutscenes do take place inside the house, and that would complicate things quite a bit. However, I just wish the remake would let us customize the house a little bit, like options to change the flooring, the wallpaper, the roof color, or just having a few different furniture sets to choose from. Just little upgrades like this that wouldn't get in the way during the cutscenes and wouldn't interfere with the gameplay much, but at least they would let us make our house look a bit more unique. The next thing I would like in this remake, and that's something I really want they stick close to the original as possible, I talked about it a little bit in my last video, but we know that many characters like Marlin, Cody, and Murray are getting pretty big makeovers, mostly to make them look more conventionally good looking. However, one thing I liked about the original game was just how this little countryside valley was filled with weird people. Daryl, Cody, Murray, Casey, and Patrick, Hardy. So many of these characters creeped me out as a kid, but I think they contributed to the charm of the game. And of course, after getting to know them, you would find out they're really good people, even if they're not all handsome. Not everybody has to be handsome. We have not seen all of the characters yet, but I sincerely hope some of them will keep their imperfections or strange features. One character I do want to stay handsome, however, is the main character. We know there will be character customization, but what I mean more specifically is I want them to keep their charming facial expressions. In the original game, your character would do this shocked face when trying to go out of Romana's house holding one of the cats. They would do this sad face if they were hungry, and you could see their mood when opening the inventory screen. Their character would also crouch when talking with the sprites or kids, and it was just very wholesome. I think I got attached to the main character of A Wonderful Life more than any other in the series, and that is in part thanks to all of these cute animations and details. They were just a very expressive character, and it doesn't seem like a big deal, but these little details really do add up and just give life and emotion to the game, make you attached to the character, and without these, the story and the ending of the game wouldn't be as strong as it was. I really hope the developers acknowledge the importance of these little details and put as much care as they did for the original game and even more. Other details that really made this game special for me are the sound effects. If you played Pioneers of Aliftown, you might be used to hearing music all day long everywhere you go, but if you've ever been to the countryside, first, there's no music blasting all day long. Second, the peaceful sounds of nature are one of the most relaxing things you can ever hear. And A Wonderful Life understood this, and every time I play, I feel like I'm in a real countryside. It brings me back to my hometown, and it's just a lot of cozy feelings. As soon as you get out of your farm, you will hear different types of birds, cicadas, crickets, frogs, and more. And these would change depending on where you are and the time of day. There are also the sound of the waves on the beach, or the water flowing down the river. And if you get nearby the buildings, you could hear weird sounds coming from Daryl's lab, music from the bar, or even Lumina playing the piano. Everywhere you went, there were some unique sounds. Like my previous point, to most people that might seem like a small thing, but it really contributed to the feeling of immersion. I think this is something that has been missing in recent entries in the series, and I truly hope this comes back in the remake. The countryside may have a ton of beautiful sounds, but it can also sometimes feel like a lonely or boring place. Besides a little cutscene during the Harvest Festival in autumn and New Year, A Wonderful Life didn't have much in terms of proper festivals, and that made the months feel pretty long. The developers have actually mentioned on their official website that festivals would be added to the game, but we don't know how many, and I hope they will be more interesting than the ones we got in Aliftown. I would really love to see festivals where you get to participate, like a cooking contest, a horse race, a dog race, or things like that, and hopefully there's interesting rewards for those festivals. Also, you know that hill where you could go in the GameCube version to connect to Friends of Mineral Town? Maybe they could make that area accessible for once, and at the top there could be maybe a track for horse races or some kind of plaza that could be decorated for different events. Either way, I would love to see new events and would love to be able to access that area. And they better not do this like they did in Pioneers of Aliftown. This was so cruel and so annoying. I kept thinking that maybe one day the path was going to open up and it never did. So no matter what you do, please, Marvelous, don't block the path with this little construction thing. If you're going to block it, at least find a more interesting way to do it. But this brings me to my next point, and I really want to have more areas to explore. The valley in A Wonderful Life was awfully small. It was the first open world Harvest Moon game, and it was on the GameCube, so for that time it was great. But going back to the game now, I think the size of the world needs an upgrade. I want some new areas to catch different types of fish, forage new plants and mushrooms, encounter new wild animals, and maybe that's where our carpenter or other new villager could be living. Also, what about having a proper mine in addition to the digging site, where you could maybe get ores to upgrade your tools? So in the original game, there were multiple tools, but there wasn't much difference between them besides the amount of stamina they consumed, and the only watering can that was supposed to water more than one crop at once was bugged, so it didn't work properly. We know that there will be more tools in the remake, so I think this could be a great opportunity to introduce tool upgrades with ores, along with a mine, a new foraging area, maybe the carpenter, and a blacksmith. Next is a thing I really hope they don't remove, and something that made this game pretty unique, and that is the animal breeding system. In most Story of Seasons games, you buy a cow and get her pregnant simply by using a miracle potion, and as soon as the calf becomes an adult, you will get milk from her. In A Wonderful Life, however, things were a bit more realistic. You first needed a bull to impregnate a cow, and you could either buy a bull and keep him on your farm, or pay some amount of money to have a bull from a different farm do the work. After a while, your cow would give birth and for 10 days would produce milk for her baby. After those 10 days, you could start milking her, and she would keep producing milk for 1 year. And if you wanted her to continue producing milk after that, she would need to get pregnant again. I think this was a fun mechanic, and as a kid, that's how I learned that cows don't just give milk to humans for their whole lives. They need to give birth first, and their milk is first and foremost for their babies. By the way, you could milk cows twice a day in this game, which I think was pretty fun. The breeding mechanics were also a bit similar for the chickens, so you needed to buy a rooster for your eggs to be fertilized, and fertilized eggs would look a bit different and would hatch by putting them in the incubator or by leaving the chickens cover them for a few days. I just really liked how that was realistic. You needed both male and female animals. It was a slower, more difficult process, but a lot more rewarding and really made you care more for your animals. And as I'm writing the script for this video, Marvelous released this little clip and you can see that these two chickens look slightly different. One has a bigger comb, the red thing on their head, and that is very similar to how the roosters looked in the original game. Plus the egg in the incubator is looking kind of purple, and the fertilized eggs in the original also had some color to them. So I'm pretty confident now that they really are sticking to the original game mechanics for this, which gets me very excited and gives me hope for this whole list. And lastly, if I'm not wrong, in A Wonderful Life, animals would die of old age, and of course get sick if not well taken care of. The topic of death plays a pretty important part in this game. That's another thing this game taught me as a kid. The animals you love will die, people around you will die, and even I will die. That's just part of life. It is sad, but it's true, and it's something that made A Wonderful Life so special. In recent games, animals can no longer get sick or die, and as much as the idea of keeping your animals around forever sounds fun, it also makes the games feel a bit more lifeless, ironically. It also removes any kind of challenge, as the only penalty you get for not feeding your animals or leaving them outside is that they won't give you products for a day or two. It doesn't feel like a big deal, so I really want this game to make your animals feel important and alive again. So these are my thoughts on the things I want in Story of Seasons A Wonderful Life. Overall, a bit more content, but mostly I want them to respect the original vision of the game, its unique and peaceful atmosphere, and the life lessons that it was teaching. I really don't want to be disappointed by this game. I'm hopeful, but a part of me is also a bit scared that many of the things that made this game special get removed. So let me know what you guys think. Do you agree or disagree with my list? Let me know in the comments what are your hopes for the new Story of Seasons game, and I will see you all in the next video.